In a country where justice is swift for the poor, but questionable for the powerful, one name echoes through the halls of Philippine legal history. A man born into poverty, a father, a painter, an ordinary life caught in an extraordinary storm. His story became the center of a national debate, not just about crime and punishment, but about truth, doubt, and the flaws of the very system meant to protect us. Was he truly guilty of an unforgivable act? Or was he another casualty of a system too quick to punish and too slow to listen? This is the story of Leo Echegaray, the first man executed after the return of the death penalty in the Philippines. And you're listening to Pinoy True Crime Story, where we bring you true accounts of crime, justice, and the unanswered questions that continue to haunt us. Leo Echegaray was born in Tondo, Manila, one of the busiest and toughest neighborhoods in the Philippines. A place where the streets are narrow, the air is heavy with smoke and noise, and life, for most people, is a daily struggle. It was there, in the heart of poverty, that Leo grew up. A quiet boy, not one to pick fights, not one to cause trouble. He was a street child who had learned early on that to survive, you had to work hard. Leo never finished school. By the time most kids his age were still in elementary, he was already working. First as a store helper, then as a house painter. Despite the odds, Leo dreamed of building a family of his own. A simple dream. A quiet life. Nothing grand. Eventually, he found love in a woman who already had a child from a previous relationship. But Leo didn't mind. He treated the child like his own. To him, family wasn't about blood. It was about loyalty, presence, and love. Then, in 1994, everything changed. The young girl, his stepdaughter, made a shocking revelation. She claimed that Leo had molested her multiple times, violated her in the very home they shared, while her mother slept in the other room. For months, she kept the secret to herself, afraid and unsure, until one day she finally told a relative. The authorities acted quickly. The child was brought to a hospital for medical examination. Leo was arrested and charged with rape under Republic Act 7659, the law that had recently reintroduced the death penalty in the Philippines. Leo denied everything. He said the accusations were false, made up out of spite, perhaps by the girl's mother after a domestic dispute. He insisted on his innocence, but no one seemed to listen. The trial began. It lasted nearly 5 years. Leo's defense argued there was no physical evidence, no witnesses, just the girl's words. But the court ruled that her testimony was consistent, detailed, and believable. And that alone, under the law, was enough to convict. As the case gained attention, the public became divided. Some believed Leo was guilty. Others believed he was innocent, just another poor man crushed by a flawed justice system. Neighbors and friends described him as kind, reserved, and incapable of such a crime. They couldn't imagine him doing harm. Leo's legal team appealed to the Supreme Court. They begged for a review. Human rights groups rallied behind him. But it wasn't enough. President Joseph Estrada signed the death warrant. The date was set, February 5th, 1999. Leo would become the first Filipino to be executed since the reinstatement of the death penalty. In the early morning hours, inside the new Bilibid prison, Leo was prepared for execution, dressed in white, holding a rosary, silent, calm, no tears, no last-minute outburst. Before the needle was inserted into his veins, Leo looked at the witnesses and said, "Forgive me if I have sinned, but I am not the one who did this. Please, don't let me die for something I did not do." And within moments, Leo Echegaray was gone. The first person to die by lethal injection in the new era of capital punishment in the Philippines. But the story didn't end there. After Leo's execution, the questions grew louder. Was he really guilty? Was the testimony manipulated? Could it have been a setup fueled by revenge or jealousy? Why was there no physical evidence? Why was the defense weak? Why didn't the court question the motive of the mother? The Catholic Church condemned the execution. Human rights advocates warned that the justice system was too weak, too slow, too unfair to administer something as final as death. Leo's case became the centerpiece in a national debate about the death penalty. Lawmakers began to reconsider. Activists marched. Protests grew. And in 2006, 7 years after Leo's death, Congress passed Republic Act 9346, officially abolishing the death penalty in the Philippines. Leo Echegaray had become more than a name. He became a symbol, a face of a justice system that had potentially failed. A reminder that when mistakes happen in court, it's not just paper that burns, it's a human life. His memory lingers in courtrooms, classrooms, and conversations about justice. And while some may argue that he deserved his fate, many more wonder if he was a man who died not because of his guilt, but because of his poverty, his lack of power, and the silence of those who might have helped. Today, people still ask, was Leo Echegaray guilty, or was he a victim of a system that did not care enough to be sure? And in that question lies the haunting truth, that sometimes justice doesn't just fail, it kills. The haunting echoes of Leo Echegaray's fate remind us that justice, though firm, is never without its questions. His story may have ended in the confines of a prison cell, but the impact of his case continues to spark debate, reflection, and unease in the hearts of many Filipinos. Whether justice was truly served, or whether a man's life became the price of an imperfect system, that's for history and for each of us to decide. Thank you for listening to another chilling tale here on Pinoy True Crime Story. If you want more stories like this, true events, real people, and unforgettable cases, don't forget to follow, share, and stay tuned. Marami pa tayong kwentong dapat malaman. At dito sa Pinoy True Crime Story, ang katotohanan, hindi kailanman natatago. Hanggang sa susunod, mag-ingat at laging magtanong. Alam ba natin ang buong kwento?